Let us paint a quick and simple watercolors today in this tutorial. We will be doing a wet on wet sky, and then we will be adding some water body, and then we will be adding the boards. Without further delay, let us begin. I am using a cold pressed watercolor paper, and I am wetting the top 2/3 of the paper. Okay, so I am looking for a wet on wet sky, a bold and wet on wet sky, and then we will be adding more and more details. The paper that I have used today is a cold pressed watercolor paper 440 GSM. It is slightly thicker paper because I am using more water today. So I wanted to avoid buckling little bit. Okay, so this is a wash of just cerulean blue, and I'm just suggesting some blue sky, and I'm leaving some white spaces, and let the thing merge. And you can see that a lot of these washes will come down, and it will softly create a sky with blue and white colors. So at this point, I am adding a little bit of slightly greenish blue sort of a wash here, and the top area of this wash is still wet, and the bottom portion of this wash is dry. I am using cerulean blue and a little bit of cobalt green for this. It is almost like the sky color, but it has a slight greenish tint to this. Slightly it is greenish because of the cobalt green. So as I'm coming down, I'm adding more and more thicker colors so that you have a little bit of a gradation there. That is for little bit of this sense of distance, sense of depth. Okay. And I'm just making some horizontal lines now, slightly thicker consistency, so that we get some sense of a movement in the water. Okay, a little bit of a subtle sort of ripples, slightly thicker consistency. Maybe this time I'm using cobalt blue and cobalt green, slightly thicker consistency, and the paper is still wet, and I'm making some horizontal lines, and I'm expecting that it will softly merge with the underlying wash, but it will still have some kind of a tonal variation, and you will find some sense of some suggestions for ripples. Okay, some kind of a water movement. That is what I am looking for. So initially I have used a mop brush for this, and now I am using a smaller size round brush with a fine point. Okay, the paper is dry now. Let it fully dry, and then we will do the next element. We will add the next element, and I am sort of trying to draw a boat here. So I haven't made the drawing first. I could have done that also. You could have done the drawing first and then started with the sky. But I thought I will just make a start, and then I will decide what kind of elements I should add later. So I think the boat, a big boat here, okay, and maybe I'm thinking of adding another boat next to that, maybe a smaller one, okay, and maybe a couple of figures here, okay, it should have some interest. See, the drawing part I have slightly fast forwarded to save some time, but I haven't compromised on any of the information. Okay, the drawing can be clearly seen, and a smaller boat here. And the size of these two boats being very different, that also gives a little bit of interest. That also gives a contrast actually. Okay, one big element, one small element. Okay. Maybe that small boat is going toward the bigger boat. Maybe, I don't know what for. You can think of what is the story behind it, but it creates some interest. So a little bit of a scarlet red and a little bit of orange added together, and slightly thicker consistency, and I am sort of applying the wash for the body of the boat. Okay. It is sort of you can say as a flat wash, Sorry, it is slightly slow. I thought of I will not do much of fast forwarding here. And maybe I will add slightly darker version of the red. Okay, adding with a little bit of Payne's gray and making it little dark, still thicker consistency, and we'll kind of add the dark color at the bottom. Usually the bottom portion of the boats are slightly dark. If you are planning to do this particular work, if you want to follow along, I would suggest you watch the tutorial first in full and understand the process. Think about the process. Try to understand the thinking, behind it, the rationale behind it. And once you understood the process, maybe you can do it. You can do the following along. You can do the painting, and you can maybe at that time you can refer the video again. But in the first video, first watching, I would suggest you to watch it and understand it. And if you have any questions or, comments, suggestions, please do let me know. I will be happy to come back with my answers as early as possible. This is a structure within the board, and I'm showing some sort of a tone difference so that you get some sense of a three-dimensional feel to that. And some suggestion for reflection. I am using darker color because usually the reflections are darker, and that too particularly where the object and the reflection meet. At that particular point, it is darker, and when we come down below with the reflection, we can make it lighter. And the reflection should somehow resemble the mirror image of the object above. So what we are suggesting here is somewhat like a broken mirror image of the boat above. Ideally, the reflection will also contain the local color of the boat. That means it should also contain some red color. But I'm slightly adding the red color, but it might turn very dark. So I think the reflection went very dark by adding the red color. So I'm adding a little bit of green, cobalt green to that to make it slightly less darker. Okay, I think the reflection as a whole is okay. We need to add a lot more reflections. I think I will create some texture by adding little bit of white, blue, and kind of a lavender sort of a color, and I will splash some color here. Okay, just tiny bit of splashing and some touches, and I will just leave it to kind of spread and merge. See, that area, the board and the reflection area is still wet. It didn't dry yet, so it will kind of spread, and I'm slightly kind of creating a diffused area or some kind of a texture with that. If you are not liking the texture, you can avoid this step. And this is the small boat. I have used a little bit of cobalt, cerulean blues. Okay. And as mentioned earlier, the bottom portion of the boat is added with darker tones. And let us also suggest some reflection for this. I think my brush has too much paint. I had to unload some paint. You have to be a little careful about how much paint your brush is holding. You need the right amount. For a big wash, you need more quantity of paint on the brush, and for details, you may want to, control the amount of pigment, amount of water that your brush holds. Okay, if it is too much, you may not get the kind of shapes that you want, and if it is too less, then also you may not get it. So you need to know what is the right amount of loading of the brush. Okay, I think we are pretty much done. And let us add some details, darker details to the boat. This is mostly Payne's gray. And most of the paints, the mix that we're going to use going forward, they are thicker consistency, slightly thicker consistency, because we are going for the details and we are doing it on top of an already dry wash. Okay, so the paper is no more white, paper is already having a color, and to add details on top of the blue color, we need darker tones, we need thicker consistency paint. Okay, so what I'm currently doing is sort of a dry brush work. Okay, you can see those white sparklets left on the paper, and these kind of details that I'm doing, I'm just doing it. Okay, I'm not using any reference, so I'm not very clear if whatever I'm doing now are technically right or not. So if you know technically what is right, you can follow that. Otherwise, you can follow my approach. Currently, what I am bothered is to make it visually interesting. Okay, some cables here and there. Okay, to just to engage it and to make it visually more appealing. Yeah, this looks okay to me. And what else? Maybe some kind of a small railing here, and we will add some figures also after this. These are thick, dark pigments. Okay, uh, and some suggestive details, not too much of precision there. Okay, the boat looks reasonably finished in my view, and I don't want to add too much of details. We'll see that later. Okay, once we add more details to the rest of the painting, maybe once we finish the smaller boat and once we add figures, we can decide if we need to add more details to the boat or not. Anyway, we are making it a simple uh, uh, painting, so I don't want to make it very complex by adding too much of details. Some mauve kind of a color for the figures. He is leaning forward and doing something, and maybe a couple of more figures here. Okay, some of these figures are under the shadow, so we can do with dark colors. Okay, maybe these two figures are in the shadow, so I'm using dark colors. Maybe a couple of figures on the small boat. Even though the boat size may be bigger or larger, but the figure size should be consistent. Okay, the smaller boat seems to be slightly farther from us. The I mean, it is. I mean, the big boat is more close, and the small boat is slightly farther. So the figures should be slightly smaller for the small boat. But I'm not worrying too much about that. Maybe one more figure here. I'm using some different colors. The cobalt green here. It is about matching with the background, to be frank. So I should have used actually a different color. So if you're following along, you can use a different color for this figure. Okay. Maybe I think this much is enough for the boat, and we will add reflection for the new elements that are added. I'm not worried about the color of the reflection at this point because I don't want to make it very complicated looking. Okay. Some more suggestions for reflections for these figures and the pole, etc. You don't have to be worried too much. I think we are pretty much done with this, and some minor touches, and we can be declaring it as done. So if you're finding this tutorial informative and if you're finding some value in this, please do subscribe and press the bell notification so that you get notified whenever I release new videos. If you think this can help your artist friends, uh, please share it to your artist groups, artist friend circle, so that they also can take benefit out of these tutorials. And if, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions or comments, suggestions, please write them into the comment box below so that I understand your questions and I can come back with my answers. Okay, these are some tiny orange touches for the exposed body part, and maybe the heads, the face, and the arms, etc. And I think we are pretty much done. Do we need any more orange touches? No, I'm just thinking when I move my hand, move my brush, and I don't make any marks on the paper. Probably I'm just thinking and I'm discarding. I'm evaluating some idea and discarding it if I don't touch the brush on the paper. Okay, I think we are pretty much done with these details. Maybe one final touch I will do. I will add some slight highlight using white watercolors. Okay, that is the one thing that I might do now. Rest everything looks good to me. Maybe I can make this little taller. Okay, because the reflection was too long. Okay, I think that's it. So I'm using some thick white color for some tiny highlights. Okay, you don't overdo it. If you overdo it, it will kind of spoil the work. So I'm making very small minor touches here and there. These are not random touches. These are well thought touches, but very small touches. Okay, and yeah, I think we should know when to stop the painting, and this I think is the right time to uh, uh, stop painting, and we can call this as done. Okay, so let me sign and then declare this as officially done. And once we finish the signature, we will take out the tape, and I think I think we are pretty much done. I'm happy with how it came out. So I hope this was informative to you. So thank you very much for watching this video. And as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions or suggestions or queries, please write them into the comment box below. I'll be happy to come back with my answers as early as possible. And finally, once more, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and press the bell notification. Share this video to your artist group, artist friends. So thank you very much, and we will soon see you with another interesting tutorial, and happy painting until then. Bye bye.